It's me or it, and I'm gonna make sure it's it. It's going down. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video, we're gonna be talking about my January TBR. Alright, before I get to anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what book are you starting the year with. Alright, so first off, oh my gosh, can you believe it's 2025? Crazy. Crazy. It is the start of a new year, and it is the start of a new Nat, because I'm going to be working on this craziness this year. We haven't talked about it yet, but I will have a video coming out talking about my goals and how one of the biggest ones for this year is going to be reading off of my owned TBR. I am gonna work this baby down. It's me or it, and I'm gonna make sure it's it. It's going down. So although I will continue to partake in a million readathons and a million book clubs, I'm also gonna try my darndest to get this number down. Starting at the top, the book that I am planning to start the year with is A Marvelous Light by Freya Marsh. And that is because it will fulfill the prompt for both of my in-person book clubs, both the romance and fantasy one. Seeing as how this is a cozy queer romantasy, two birds, one stone, I can't resist, gotta take it. I've also just been meaning to get to this book for so freaking long. Actually, we are following this man who is desperate for a job and ends up getting one, though he does not realize it is, I think it's like a secretarial position for this sort of government, but it turns out the government is like of magical beings or wizards or something of the like. Apparently, the man who had his job previously disappeared, so he, along with this other magical bureaucrat, end up having to figure out what happened to this man, and along the way, emotional sparks start to fly, not just magical ones. God, that was corny. I've heard so many positive things about this. I've heard it's really cozy, it's very sweet, and that the romance is adorable, so I'm finally going to get it read. Unfortunately, it is also starting a series. Another goal I am so freaking determined to work on this year is reading nonfiction again. I need to get back to at least one a month. I have so many on my shelves. I have so many on my digital TBR that I want to read. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna start myself easy by finishing out The Geek Feminist Revolution by Cameron Hurley. I started into this one for nonfiction November and unfortunately did not finish it. It wasn't that I DNF'd it, it was just unfortunately that it kind of fell by the wayside and other books got prioritized instead. Though I was enjoying this, it wasn't quite what I went into this book expecting, diving into geek fandom culture and looking at those spaces through a feminist lens, maybe talking about the misogyny that still goes on in them. And while yes, there is a little bit of that, other parts of this book seem to be focused on Hurley herself and kind of talking about the writing world and how she got involved in it, the many different lessons she has learned in it, plus sort of mixed with like personal memoir from the author herself. I was enjoying this. I do still want to finish reading it. I just need to prioritize it. Then, of course, I am going to continue with my Star Wars canon project, reading the Star Wars novels that are canon currently, and I am officially into the age of where the films are. So I'm getting to see more of the characters I've already fallen in love with, and I'm so excited for more of that. I am, however, very curious because the first book I have to read next in the chronological order is Queen's Peril by E.K. Johnston, which is the second book in the Padme trilogy. I don't understand quite why I'm going that way, but that's what the chronological list tells me on Yoda's datapad, so that's what I'm gonna do. It looks like this one is specifically following Padme as she is kind of creating her team of handmaidens who not only help her in her everyday life, but also protect her. And she's not only going to be finding these women, but also, you know, trying to figure out a way for all of them to work together in order for Padme to be the best ruler she can be. That's what it looks like. I'm intrigued. I'm also just curious to figure out the timeline order thing. Then I have Mace Windu, The Glass Abyss by Stephen Barnes, and ooh, I am excited for this one. Spoiler alert, I guess, about a movie that's pushing 30 years old. This one is following Mace after Qui-Gon's passing in Phantom Menace, and he is trying to do a final request that he received from Qui-Gon, which includes going on this mission to a Outer Rim planet, Metagos. I don't want to know anymore. I can't wait for this. I'm so excited. Mace is a really interesting character, so of course I'm excited to see more about him. Plus, I mean, he and Qui-Gon had very not always seeing eye to eye sort of relationship, and so it's interesting that Qui-Gon requested that Mace do this. I'm excited to see that get explored a little bit. I do have one advanced reader copy that I'm going to try and get read this month. I received it from NetGalley and St. Martin's Griffin, but that is Get Lost With You by Sophie Sullivan. This is a second chance romance set in a small town, and so that pretty much right there was what won me over. It looks like our female main character Jillian has officially settled down in this town and is raising her daughter, but unfortunately for her, her ex Levi has recently returned to this small town after realizing that making it big in the big city is was not all he thought it was going to be. Of course, sparks start flying. This looks like it's gonna be a really easy, cute read, so I'm very hopeful that I will enjoy it. If you're intrigued, that book is going to be publishing on February 11th. In a very different direction now, I am also going to be partaking in Winterween this year, and like I was saying, I'm going to do my best to read books off of my owned TBR. So I'm going to be trying to make these work, but at the same time, I also have multiple options for pretty much every one of them. It might just kind of be like a fun mood reading time whenever I get around to making that vlog. That's hosted by Gabby Reads, so if you're interested in the readathon, I'll put links for it in the description down below. Please go check it out. So first prompt, as per usual, is to read a book in the dark or at night. I'm not gonna set a specific book for this, but I will have one of them work for it. Next is to read a horror or a thriller, and pretty much all of these, excluding like one, I think can count for that. The first one I do actually have some options for is a book that has a house on the cover or in the title. So first up is This Cursed House by Del Sandine, obviously in the title and on the cover. I have heard positive things about this one so far. I got it from Aardvark because, I mean, I'm doing my best to try and read more horror. Oh, that's right, it's a Southern Gothic horror, and I think that's pretty much why I ended up picking it. I actually did a huge project on Southern Gothic as a genre, like I think it was my senior lit project. So that's a niche of writing that I do want to read more of. A young black woman abandons her life in 1960s Chicago for a position with a mysterious family in New Orleans, only to discover the dark truth. They're under a curse and they think she can break it. Definitely sounds super good, plus the setting of New Orleans is going to be perfect for this sort of a story. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm really hopeful I can get to this one, though I do also have a classic that I've been wanting to get to for literally years, and that's And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. You know, like the original locked room, slowly people getting picked off one by one. I've wanted to read Christie's work for years now, and this is the only one I have on my shelf, so maybe this will be the start of a new trend. But at the same time, maybe I should wait on that, because I have so many projects going on right now. And then pretty different, but just in case I'm like in the need of something a little bit lighter, I still need to fulfill this prompt. I've got Happy Medium by Sarah Adler, which is still a little Halloween-esque. This might be a house, it might be a barn, but it might be a house. So I'm saying it works. This is following a con artist who works as a medium, and then she gets hired to do a reading at this haunted farm. I think it's like by the property's current owner, but the farmer there thinks she's totally full of it, which is true. She usually is, except she actually does end up seeing a ghost and interacting with him to try and figure out what's going on with this property. It sounds super cute, and I do really want to get it read. So like I said, this is kind of a if I need a palette cleanser possibility. I just figured I'd slide it in here just in case. But it still sort of fits on theme. It's still ghosty. Next up is to read a horror book that was published 5 or more years ago. First one that came to my head was Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I'm still not sure. I should probably look up the pronunciation of her name. This author's work is insanely hyped, and I've wanted to read all of them for so freaking long and have yet to actually do so. This is the only one I currently own though, so like I could start things out. In this one, we're following a woman where her mother and her sister were by her brother, and she was the one who testified against him to officially put him away. But now she's older, she's an adult, and she's starting to question whether or not that's what actually happened. So she goes back home to investigate. Shockingly, have not been spoiled for this one, though I have heard a lot of positive things. And like I said, I want to check out everything this author has written, so I need to get started sooner or later. The other one I'm looking at, and a little more hesitant about, but I already own it, is The Breakdown by B.A. Paris, and that's because I didn't really like the first book of theirs that I tried to read, Behind Closed Doors, but I already own this one. It's already on my shelves. So it looks like we're following a lady who had previously stumbled on a woman who was in her car, but did nothing to help. Didn't stay, didn't call the police, nothing. And ever since then, that started to haunt her, but now she's becoming very forgetful, is ending up in really weird situations, but the one thing she can't forget is this woman. So I imagine she's starting to have a little bit of a breakdown. Hence the title. I have no clue on how this one's gonna go, but I need to read it at some point. So it's a possibility for this one. Finally is to read a novella, a manga, or an audiobook. I can almost guarantee you that any of the books I've mentioned already could be read in an audiobook format. However, I would also love to kind of try and prioritize some manga if I can. Specifically, I'm looking at Mariko-chan by Tomoki Uzumi. Josh and I watched the anime of this, and I will admit there's a lot of fan service, but the creepy aspect mixed with the comedy is really cool. I really do like how it's unsettling and weird following this young woman, Riko, who unfortunately can see ghosts. She is absolutely terrified, but has to do everything in her power not to respond because she doesn't want the ghosts to know that she can see them. And it leads to some really silly and weird situations. We already watched all that was available in the anime, and I'm pretty sure the manga continues past that, so excited to see what happens next. And on that note, I think that's it for today, y'all. So thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me the little ghost emoji in the comments for Winterween. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!